The first movement we're going to cover is literally taking our ankle into dorsiflexion, allowing the knee to really travel over the toes and loading it, either just with body weight or adding an external load. All we're going to do is kneel down, have one foot on the ground, and we're going to think about driving that knee forward over the toes. And I can add some weight into my thigh just by using my upper body to push down. As I'm in this position, we want to make sure the heel stays connected to the floor and it doesn't lift up. So keep the heel down, drive the knee forward. And I'm also going to try and really square my hips up for this position so I don't start to sink some weight out to the side. I actually really want to load that position, and you'll find that you'll end up cheating it a little bit if we don't align up with the knees or the knee and the hip. So add some load into that thigh, drive the knee over the toes. Again, so you can see from this side, heel is down, hips are squared forward, knee is tracking the toes. I'm going to drive it ahead, add a bit of load into that top, into the thigh. And you can obviously hold it here, and you can also move around in it a little bit. So kind of go searching for any areas that feel a bit tighter. What we're then going to do is look at adding some load on top of this thigh. I can grab a kettlebell, place it on top of the thigh, and just allow that load to help drive my knee a bit further forward. If sitting down here, deep into this base position on the floor, into this sort of half squat, it feels too much, then just elevate this leg up on top of a chair or a box, and you may find that just feels a little bit more accessible. So test both of those variations out and see what feels better for your body. That is our loaded dorsiflexion. You're going to spend at least 2 minutes working through that on each side. This next movement for our warm-up is just going to be sitting in the base of a narrow squat. So, feet parallel. I'm going to go into the base of this squat. My knees are allowed to travel over my toes, and you may find that doesn't feel quite accessible for you to do it with the heels down. So you can kind of rock in and out of it a little bit, but if your heels won't go down, then you push them down, you're probably going to fall backwards. I can set myself up with a bit of an anchor point. Again, I'm in my narrow squat position. Maybe at the moment your heels are here. Allow them to come down. You can just sort of rock in and out. Make sure you've got a nice heavy kettlebell. And you can use that as a tool just to help you sit into the base of that narrow squat. I would spend a good couple of minutes sat in this position, moving around in it, just working through any areas that just feel a bit tighter, but also to build lots of heat into the ankles, get the knees used to being over the toes as well, and just helping to prime and prep yourself for the base of that pistol squat. This next movement to add into our warm-up for our pistols is a variation of the Patrick step. Now, I took this from the Knees Over Toes guy, so make sure you check him out. This movement is going to allow my knee to travel forward, and it's going to help me not only like prime and prep the knee for traveling into that position for my pistol squat, but it's a great tool to actually use to strengthen your knees. This variation, I can hold onto something for a bit of support. I'm going to have my toes pointing forwards, knees are going to track the toes, lift one leg up. And now keeping my heel down, I'm going to let my knee travel forward and just take the heel to the floor in front. And again, see how far forward we can get the knee to travel. Sending that leg out in front, you may start not taking it particularly far, so just work with what's right for your body and your current mobility. You should also not be pushing through or working through pain. So make sure there is no pain as we're doing this. Without the assist, I can have leg out in front, and now I'm going to let my knee travel forwards, find the ground, stand up. I'm going to get lots of volume in here, so around 20 odd repetitions per side, adding that into your warm-up, maybe 2 or 3 sets, and you'll just feel lots of heat building in the ankle and the knee, and this is just going to help prep that movement pattern for our pistol, but also help to strengthen and safeguard your knees. We're going to get a little bit more dynamic now with our warm-up and go into some duck walk variations. So the first one is to have feet in a narrow stance. We're going into the bottom of a squat, And we're just going to walk forwards. I'm going to reach ahead, ground through the heel and the toes as I alternate side to side. You can go in any direction, mix it up a little bit. This variation is mimicking that base position of my pistol. I'm now going to add in some hamstring work too. So I'm going to step forwards and now allow the hips to lift. Depending on your hamstring flexibility, you may have to come up quite high into this position here where it's almost like my ostrich walk. Come back down, switch sides. If you've got a little bit more flexibility in your hamstrings, keep your hands on the floor. Send the hips high, come back into your squat. The final variation of duck walk is going to get a little bit more into the hips. I'm going to come into a squat, allow my knees to track open, and you can have a bit of free reign with this one, move around, have some fun with it, and just get some heat into the body, into the ankles, knees and hips. The final movement I'm going to add into our pistol warm-up is some base leg compressions. So you can do this from a squat or sitting on the ground. All we're going to do is come into the base of our narrow squat, add a heel lift if you're struggling to grip the toes down and keep the heels on the floor, because if you're falling backwards, this one isn't going to work for you. So if you just grab a bit of a heel raise, all we're going to do from here is extend one leg out in front and see how that feels. Notice if it drops, can you keep it lifted? And actually adding in some pulses, going back to that narrow squat, over to the other side. Remember, point the toes, length in the back of the leg, and add in these compression sits. If you find you're unable to sit here, even with a heel raise, then what we can just do is sit all the way down and have a little go at just single leg compressions from here, or even both legs out in front, just to help prime the hips, ready for that extended leg in your pistol squat. I would say 2 or 3 sets, maybe just 5 repetitions per side, just to prime and wake up the muscles in the thigh and the hips, ready to be able to keep that leg lifted all the way down into our pistol squat.